Thank you, Chair and Ranking Member. Thank you to the witnesses for being here. Today, as we consider the SUPPORT Act, I want us to think of 21st century solutions to substance abuse. PTSD and substance abuse disorders often happen together. 46% of those with lifetime PTSD will also have substance abuse disorder. One of the solutions I'm working on is getting clinical trial guidance for psychedelic therapies, guidance from the FDA, of course. And this therapy will be earth-shattering. It already has been. It's already changed dozens of lives. I have dozens of testimonies from veterans and service members who have suffered severe traumatic brain injuries and severe PTSD. They were on the brink of suicide, whose lives were changed by these therapies. It's not just veterans, it's also people living with PTSD, whatever kind of trauma they've gone through. Civilians struggling with addiction have benefited massively as well. The testimonies from each and every person who goes through these therapies is they no longer drink and they no longer do drugs. They have no need for it after one day of a therapy with a drug called Ibogaine, for instance. And this is not, again, not just veterans, people like John Costa, who after participating in a clinical trial at NYU, cured of his alcoholism. We're not talking about 1960s LSD trips. This therapy is supervised by a medical practitioner, often occurs with repeat treatments in a controlled setting. And when it comes to the efficacy of this therapy, the proof is in the data, in the testimonies. But we need the FDA to issue clinical trial guidance for psychedelic-assisted therapy so that the industry can actually invest in this. Right now, it's difficult for researchers to pursue these trials without any direction at all from FDA. Without that direction, it's even more difficult for us to conduct the research to tap into this breakthrough treatment option. Unfortunately, I was told we could not get this bipartisan bill noticed in today's hearing, but I would appreciate the chairman's commitment to put it in future markups. Now I want to shift gears to the fentanyl issue. Everyone on this committee should know that one of my top priorities is confronting the cartels head on. They are poisoning tens of thousands of Americans per year with fentanyl. This is particularly true for communities in my district, like Harris County, where fentanyl and fentanyl derivatives kill at least one person every day. The cartels facilitate and take advantage of our open borders so that they can push deadly fentanyl into our country while Border Patrol resources are diverted to deal with mass influxes of migrants. The cartels and their Chinese Communist Party allies are constantly changing the chemical composition to evade law enforcement. A new emerging threat is illicit xylazine, which the cartels are mixing into fentanyl. It's cheaper to produce, easier to sell, produces a different high, severe side effects. I'm supporting Representative Pfluger's legislation to permanently schedule illicit xylazine so that we can actually prosecute traffickers with the penalty they deserve. Mr. Straight, can you explain why you are unable to schedule drugs through the administrative process and need congressional action, and what type of congressional action?
Thank you, Congressman Crenshaw. And I think you summarized the issue as well as my previous colleague who was here in February talking about this threat. The short answer to your question is that there is an administrative process that we are currently pursuing. We're taking an all options approach at this point, and we're going to be considering our executive branch procedures for considering potential control under the CSA, as well as opportunities to work with Congress in the event that that could be potentially quicker.
Can we just talk in general about the fentanyl poisoning problem? And that's your description of it. That's my description of it as well. It is a poisoning problem. What is preventing us from stopping this? Is it lack of resources? Do you just not have enough agents on the ground? Or is it lack of authorities? Can you not prosecute people effectively when they're caught dealing fentanyl? Or is the only solution to target the actual source, the cartels in Mexico producing it?
I think the targeting piece is certainly one of the most important aspects of this administration's approach to addressing the problem.
Targeting of cartels specifically within Mexico.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and how successful are we? I mean, how does the DEA's relationship with the Mexican government? Are they being cooperative?
Well, on that one, I'll probably pivot just because of my role within DEA. I'm part of the 20% of the organization that has that regulatory role on the domestic supply chain. But I do want to make one important point, and it's something that Dr. Jones made earlier. You know, I think the biggest threat that we've noticed with opioid misuse has been this constantly evolving landscape where we've gone from prescription drugs to heroin to synthetic drugs, which have included opioids and now nitazines and other substances. And that will continue to be a problem. It's been the situation for my time.
And excuse me if I can go over time, just 1 second. So I listed 3 things, right? Lack of resources, lack of authorities, target the cartels directly. You chose target the cartels directly as, I think, the #1 missing element in being able to stop this. Is that?
No, sir. No,
Okay,
sir.
the other 2 are important also?
I apologize. I'm telling you that is the #1 priority for our administrator at this point.
Okay.
That's what we're focused on.
Okay. Well, that tells me something. Thank you. And I yield back.